What is up? And today, once again, Trae Young gets snubbed from the All-Star team. Yep, we're going to get into that. But before we get started, I want you guys to hit that subscribe button. Like, comment, share this episode with your friends and family, and to continue to support my channel.
Big as the Super Bowl.
Coach, tonight we learned that Trae didn't make All-Star. Is there a part of you that is a little disappointed that the assist leader didn't make the All-Star team?
I think it's more than that for me. I'm extremely disappointed. It really, there's so many deserving players, and this has, feel very strongly about the players that did make it, that they're deserving. But that also doesn't preclude me from feeling the way I do about Trae. I feel like he's had, I haven't coached him for that long, but I feel like he's had the best year of his career. I think statistically that's supported. Whether it's, he's the league leader in assists, that one jumps out, but then something as simple as like clutch points and clutch assists. So not only is he scoring late in the game, but he's also passing late in the game. So again, just to emphasize, no disrespect to anyone that has made it, but as Trae's coach, I am allowed to feel disappointment for him not making it, and that's unfortunate.
And what you have just heard was Atlanta Hawks coach Quinn Snyder perfectly acknowledging that Trae Young getting snubbed was a massive disappointment and that he should have made the All-Star team. And Trae Young is arguably having his best season of his career, and he's absolutely right. Trae Young absolutely should have made the All-Star team. And let's just call it for what it is. Like, Trae Young not making the All-Star team this time around is an absolute disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace that Trae Young, once again, got snubbed from the All-Star team. And I don't think there's anything in all the sports that I've been more passionate about over the past, 3 to 4 years, more so than the NBA's, whether it's the media or the coaches, just the blatant disrespect that people have about Trae Young. I mean, it is beyond sickening. It makes me want to throw up. That's when it comes to just the disrespect that Trae Young gets. I mean, it is nauseating. It makes me mad. But I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Trae Young absolutely should have made the All-Star team. He absolutely should have made it. And here's the thing. People want to throw out reasonings for why Trae Young didn't make it. They want to tell you that, the Atlanta Hawks aren't winning, or they want to tell you that, Trae Young's inefficient. Too inefficient. Blah 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 blah. Bull crap. Excuse me for this, man, but I'm not in a good mood. I'm sorry. I'm not in a good mood. But it's just not true. It's not true. Here's the facts. Just 2 weeks ago, the Atlanta Hawks were 22-19, coming off their arguably one of their best wins of the season against the Boston Celtics. And what's happened since then? Oh wait, they've been injured. Jalen Johnson recently, he tore his labrum. He's out for the season. And even before then, he was out previously when they beat Boston. He was out for like 5 straight games or something like that because he had shoulder tendonitis on his other shoulder. And so now both of his shoulders are banged up. And so you're dealing with, so you've had to deal with Jalen Johnson being out for the season. And here's just the reality for the Atlanta Hawks season. For those that haven't really been paying attention, I've been keeping up with the stat for weeks. The Atlanta Hawks have been 15-9 when Jalen Johnson, DeAndre Hunter, and Trae Young all play. When one or more of them are out, as of this recording, they're 7-17. I mean, that's where the Atlanta Hawks are. You know, they haven't been healthy for most of the entire season. And even despite that, they were winning games. When they beat Boston 2 weeks ago, the Atlanta Hawks were the 6th seed. And I think they were like a game and a half out of 4th. And so you can't use the team wasn't winning argument against the Atlanta Hawks. They were just last week, they were in 8th place. I mean, with a 22-21 record. And so the winning argument just doesn't do anything for me. And when it comes to the efficiency, look, I'm going to show you guys a graph. This Trae Young and James Harden. If you look at the graph, I mean, oh wait, their numbers are pretty similar. Trae Young is averaging 22 points. James Harden's averaging 21 points. Trae Young is averaging 11 assists. James Harden is averaging around 8. Oh, and guess what? Oh, look at the field goal percentage. Trae Young and James Harden are around 40% from the field. As a matter of fact, Trae Young is actually just like a couple of point percentage, whatever points higher. Like Trae Young is at 40%, James Harden's at 39. So, and guess what? James Harden actually made the All-Star team over Kyrie Irving. And guess what? Both James Harden and Kyrie Irving's teams had a winning record. And if you compare James Harden's statistics to Kyrie Irving, you would realize that Kyrie Irving is actually shooting better from the field overall than James Harden. And he's scoring more points, and yet Kyrie Irving didn't make the team and James Harden did? Really? I don't get it. And so you're trying to tell me that Trae Young is less deserving of an All-Star nod than Tyler Hero? I mean, and look, I like Tyler Hero. He's had a very good year for the Miami Heat, and I'm kind of happy for him that he made the team. You know, it shows the work that he's put in. But if we're keeping it real, Tyler Hero is not more impactful than Trae Young. I mean, please stop. It's just not true. Trae Young is just better. And you can't just look at the efficiency that Trae Young doesn't have and just say that, oh, Trae Young hasn't been as good. It's just wrong. It's inaccurate. It's not true. You can't judge Trae Young's impact by the fact that he's not shooting great. It's just facts. And Stan Van Gundy on the broadcast when the Hawks played the Cavs brought up an accurate point that you can't judge Trae Young's inefficiency too harshly. Like, you can't dink him for his efficiency because he doesn't have much to work with on the floor. He has to do a lot. If you look at the Atlanta Hawks roster, there's no spacing. And you compare that to like Darius Garland. Darius Garland has better shooting. He's playing with Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley. Trae Young isn't at the moment. Trae Young's had to do more. And, you know, he's had to, you know, make something out of nothing. The degree of difficulty for Trae is a lot higher. And despite all that, at least as recently as 2 weeks ago, the Atlanta Hawks were winning basketball games. And so to me, it drives me crazy that Trae Young didn't make the All-Star team. It drives me crazy. Like I said, I mean, the stats speak for themselves. 22 points a game, 11 assists a game. Trae Young leads the league in assists. Trae Young is second in the league in points and assists created. The only guy that's ahead of him is the guy in Denver, Nikola Jokic, and we all know what he represents. And I found this stat out. Trae Young actually leads the entire league in points and assists generated. Potential points and assists generated. Trae Young actually leads the league in that. And he's doing it on a roster that doesn't really have much shooting. I mean, I love Dyson Daniels. I love him. But he's shooting 31% from three. Zachary Ricochet. I think Zachary Ricochet has a lot of promise. He's shooting 30% from three right now. Even Jalen Johnson before he got injured, he shot 31% from three. The best shooter on the team is DeAndre Hunter. And he comes off the bench. He's the sixth man. I mean, what are we doing here? He's playing for most of the year. His starting center was Clint Capella, who very well might get traded at any moment because the Hawks are just like, we want to move in a different direction. He just got benched and Onyeka Okongwu was starting. And so I don't understand. And Trae Young is doing all of this, and he's still putting up numbers, and he's still impacting his team to the fact that he actually leads the entire league. And Quinn Snyder, props to him for acknowledging this, but Trae Young actually leads the entire league in clutch points with 86. Leads the league. So he's making plays in the clutch with his scoring and even his passing. The game against the Lakers, a couple of months back comes to mind. When he found DeAndre Hunter for an open three. You know what I'm saying? And so, like I said, man, it drives me crazy that Trae Young just doesn't get his just due. And, Trae Young, after he was snubbed from the All-Star team, actually wrote a post on X in which he talked about how, it's not even about getting snubbed. Might as well just say I'm getting trade. And he's right. And he also said that he was going to go on a podcast. He's going to go on his podcast and he's going to talk about, he's going to give his real honest thoughts, as far as why he's been snubbed. And I'm gonna be honest. Like I can't wait to listen to that. I'm looking forward to that, Trae Young. Because I can't wait to see what you're gonna have to say. Because man, I want you to go off on some dudes. I want you to keep it real, Trae Young. Please do. So I can't wait till Trae Young, gets on this podcast and talk about that, whenever that is. I'm assuming it'll probably be like around All-Star break or something. I'm assuming, but I can't wait. And it's just, like I said, man, it's flat out egregious that Trae Young got snubbed. It's egregious. It's egregious. Trae Young is one of the top 24 players in this league. I don't care. I don't care who you want to put ahead of him. All I know is Trae Young is one of the top 24 players in the league, and he flat out should be an all-star. It's egregious. It's a joke. And look, if you want me to give my reasoning on why I think this is happening with Trae Young, I'll be honest. I think a lot of this stems back from Lloyd Pierce. And look, there was a time, when I used to defend Lloyd Pierce, but I'm gonna be honest. Like, let's just call it what it is. I don't think Trae and Lloyd Pierce had a good relationship early in their careers. And I think because of all of that, Lloyd Pierce, you know how things get in the NBA when like bad stuff comes out and all these stories. And I personally believe that the reason Trae Young isn't an all-star is because I think just because of that bad relationship with Lloyd Pierce. And I think ultimately Lloyd Pierce got fired. And I still think to this day, I think coaches hold that against Trae Young. I just do. I do. And I think unfortunately for Trae Young, reputations in the league just die slow. It just it's hard to shake bad reputations when for some reason you develop them early. And so unfortunately for Trae Young, I believe the only way he's going to make all-star teams, the only way, is either one, he gets voted in by the fans, or number two, if the Atlanta Hawks are so good, and what I mean by so good is that they're like a top 4 or 5 seed and they're like 8 to 10 games over 500 or something like that. I think that's the only way that I think Trae Young ever is going to make an all-star team. Because outside of that, I think if whatever team he's on, probably most likely the Hawks, if the Hawks are floundering around 500 and they're like, whether they're 2 games over 500 or 2 games under 500, if they're just around 500, Trae Young's not going to get in. Like, it's just kind of been proven. Like, or unless he's like an injury replacement or something, he's not going to get in. If the Hawks are around 500, whether they're a game above or a game under, he ain't going to get in. He just isn't. And unfortunately for Trae Young, they're just going to find some way to pin something against him, whether it's, winning or efficiency or whatever. I mean, it's just kind of what it is. And so I feel bad for Trae Young. And to me, if I had to take a guy off, I would take Tyler Hero off. And look, I like Tyler Hero. He's had a good year, and I get it. He is shooting the ball efficiently well this season. But he's not better than Trae Young. Like, he's not impacting the game the way Trae Young is. I don't care if Trae Young is shooting 40% from the field. I don't care. He leads the league in assists. He's doing more with less. He's trying to make things work with a limited supporting cast, in particular scoring and shooting around him. And despite all that, he's averaging 22 and 11. He's clutch. He's top 2 in the league in combined points and assists and potential assists generated. And it just doesn't matter, it seems. I mean, this is the second time in NBA history that a player that's averaged over 20 points and 10 assists has been snubbed for the All-Star team. The only player that's done it is Trae Young. He was snubbed 2 seasons ago, and he was pretty much snubbed last season, except the reason he got in was, again, he was an injury replacement. And so I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's a joke. The NBA needs to be ashamed of themselves. And you know what? Like Trae Young said, it's going to happen for him eventually. They're going to acknowledge his talent somehow, some way, eventually. It's going to happen for him. And so, yeah. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Trae Young absolutely should have made the All-Star team. And the fact that he was snubbed from the All-Star team is an outright disgrace.